At the heart of Halifax's African Heritage Month celebrations, an extraordinary fusion of poetry and music unfolded at the Halifax Central Library. 5 poets breaking into song, the brainchild of Canada's 7th National Poet Laureate, George Eliot Clarke, returned for its 16th edition, offering a night of profound storytelling, rhythmic verse, and soul-stirring melodies.
If you don't want black people to breathe.
Crystal Mulder is the community specialist at Halifax Public Libraries and co-chair of the Black History Month Association.
I wish to begin today's event by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki. We live, work, and play on the ancestral land that belongs to the Mi'kmaq people, the first peoples of Nova Scotia. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We are all treaty people.
Since its inception in 2020, Clarke's innovative series has redefined the intersection of poetry and music, transforming words into lyrical compositions that resonate deeply with audiences. In this edition, a stellar lineup of poets took the stage: Delvina Bernard, L. Jones, Reed Israel Jones, Salima Turkmani MacDonald, Stedman Pardee, and Clarke himself, each bringing their powerful narratives to life.
It's time for the show to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you George Eliot Clarke and the 5 Poets.
Number 2, or maybe I should say TOO, 2. Once again, we are so blessed to have as the composer and the diviner of music and the aficionado of the piano, the one and only D. Jackson. Who is practically set to make Halifax, and we want him here, his second home after Little New York City. And of course, he has composed all 10 of the songs that you will hear this afternoon. And as the premier voices, chanteur and chanteuse of this afternoon's performances, it is my great pleasure to introduce to this august audience, not only the one and only, but the inimitable Dean Bowman. Yes. Formerly the front man of the Screaming Headless Torsos. And you may consider those same entities to be now the cabinet of one President Trump. Screaming Headless Torsos at your service. But now Dean Bowman, who has also starred in the opera Quebecite, composed by D.D. Jackson, and with myself penning the libretto for that show, has also gone on to direct a choir now, and a fantastic choir in Romania. And so we are very, very thankful to the Halifax Public Libraries and TD Bank, because banking can be just as comfortable, as we all know, for winging Dean Bowman here for our program this afternoon. Accompanying many of the songs, the other featured singer, the great chanteuse that we have in our company this afternoon, is none other than the illimitable Shanice Skinner. Who has been, of course, a denizen of New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, and has been for the last several years turning all the heads of Europe, crowned and uncrowned heads of Europe, bending their ears both of them all the time, to her great voice, which has been trained classically at the Royal Conservatory of The Hague, Netherlands. And we want to thank the Halifax Public Libraries, the best series of libraries in all of Canada, and we know that to be true. We also want to thank TD Bank for helping us to feel just this comfortable and having Ms. Skinner join us this afternoon for her presentation of several of these pieces. So, round of applause for all of our performers, please. And I will say a few words about each poet as I ask them to approach the podium. And we're going to, the way the program works is very simple. Each poet will read a total of 3 poems, trying to stay within about 7 minutes. But the third poem will be a song. The third poem will be the poem that is now a song. So after the presentation of the 3 poems, then you will hear the song performed. And that is how we will go through the afternoon. Very quickly as well, I'll just mention the genesis of this whole program, which is very simple. My companion, Giovanna Riccio, as we were looking at Christmas Day 2020, a dire year, an unforgettable year for all the wrong reasons. I was trying to think of what kind of gift would be good for her, and I settled upon the idea of asking a composer friend of mine, James Rolfe, to write music for one of her poems. And he chose the poem I wanted him to choose, which was Namesake. And he wrote a beautiful melody for that song, and we surprised Giovanna with that song being sung to her over Zoom on Christmas morning of 2020. And seeing her delight in that process, James Rolfe was so happy to be writing music again because of all the shutdowns and so on. And I was delighted with their pleasure, their joy in the gift, and I decided it would be a good idea to continue commissioning songs from poems, mainly by Canadian poets. And now, with the assistance of many organizations, including the Halifax Public Libraries, I have now personally commissioned or co-commissioned 70 songs. 70 songs, 70 since December 2020. And so we're going to hear the latest renditions from this project this afternoon. So without any further ado, it is my great pleasure to call to the podium I'm not going to say one and only, but the irreplaceable, and the estimable Delvina Bernard, Ms. Delvina Bernard, who is working on a doctorate looking at the fraught issue, which it should not be a fraught issue. It should be a done deal already about reparations for unpaid slave labor, for crying out loud. But Delvina is doing the intellectual work to lay the groundwork for making the arguments for the payment of those reparations. And I'm about to turn 65, so I'd like to have the extra old age supplement, please. Please. So she's working on that. And of course, she was the lead singer of the great a cappella quartet For the Moment, a great songwriter, active in the African Nova Scotian Musical Association, ANSMA, and an all-around great person. And it's my great delight again to ask her to come to the podium and share her work with us. Ms. Delvina Bernard, soon to be doctor.
I could just listen to George for the rest of the afternoon with that energy, and he gave out a secret about his age, and we're kind of contemporaries, so what does that say? It says that when I finish the PhD, I will be on a pension and able to get a reverse mortgage. So we keep saying about black first. That's got to be a black first, right? To be old enough to get the reverse mortgage. Anyway, so it's it's a pleasure to be here, everybody. This event is celebrating poetry, and it's also celebrating music. And people have heard me say this before, that, in the early ways of which George and I connected, it was for those two things, poetry and music. And you've heard me say that. So I'm going to share a couple of pieces that were written for songs, and I think some of you will recognize them, these pieces, but you've probably only ever heard them sung, but not presented as pieces that were read or as poetry. So I'm going to try to get through them quickly because I can't wait to sit and hear these wonderful voices that are going to bless us this afternoon. And so you've probably heard this one before, as I said, because it was featured in a very prominent, heralded documentary by one of our most heralded documentarians from here in Nova Scotia. And this piece will be no stranger to many. It's called I Love You, Woman. We're here, standing at the shorelines, made it through some hard times, black mother, black daughter. Yes, made it through some hard times, black mother, black daughter. I see reflections of a past staring at me, of work hard and women kneeling to pray. From the dusk to the dawn, each day hard and each day long, giving me my claim, I love you, woman. I see waters of east shores wearing you gray, of tides white, but never wearing you down. With your will, by your might, you have kept the gifts of old, giving me my strength. I love you, woman. From the weakest one to the strongest one, if we can say who's weak and who's strong, the wisdom you've given and our blending as women to conquer that troubled road. From your heart and by your life, you have said, be we bold, giving me my claim. I love you, woman. I'm a woman black and a woman first, because I know what I have to meet. Oh yes, the fire, the thunder, the waters of courage, these are the gifts that you have given to me, because we stand as women for the cause that needs so much assistance. We stand as women against the wrong that needs so much resistance, because we're still standing, and we're still standing, and we're still standing and standing and standing, because we're here, standing at the shoreline, made it through some hard times, black mothers and black daughters. We made it through some very hard times, black mothers, black daughters. That song was sung by For the Moment in its heyday, and had everybody taking a lead somewhere along the way, for sure. So this song, song, poetry, piece, this next piece, following in the tradition of the first one that I did, that is written as a song. And this probably won't be as familiar to many of you unless you were die-hard For the Moment supporters. But I love that there's some young people in here and introducing this to a younger audience. As a matter of fact, some people in my own family don't even particularly know about that. My younger daughter was part of a group that was doing a tribute to For the Moment at the music festival, or the Music Nova Scotia, when they were giving us a Lifetime Achievement Award a few years ago. So it was herself and her cousin, Amaria, and two wonderful singers, the Smith family sisters, Micah Smith, and I think it was Mahalia Smith. And so she was at their house in North Preston practicing. We didn't know what they were going to do. They were putting together some For the Moment songs and doing a medley. And I got a phone call or a text from her saying, "We're doing these songs. Did you write these?" I said, "I guess maybe it's because the stuff I had was still on vinyl. That's why she didn't hear it." Don't worry, it's been updated since then. It's been updated. So this one, I said, is not well known in the same way, but it's one of the favorite ones that I have loved. It was written to honor the tenacity and the struggles of black men. My father, when he was a very hard-working man, and he grew up in the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children in the 1920s when his mother died, when he was just 12 years old. And he said he worked on the farm out there at the Home for Colored Children. So when I drive past there now and see the family in community gardens, I think of him a lot. And he said that the first real job he got as a young man was, he said, I was delivering cold cuts in a truck with some people, and that was the first real job he got when he was about a 17-year-old. And then he said he worked on the trains for years, at the CN trains, and then he did many other jobs. But the one where he spent the bulk of his career, he was a coal truck driver, then an oil truck delivery driver, and finally a furnace and burner repair person. He raised 9 children. He scarcely missed a day at work unless he had to take it off to go to a funeral. And he worked at that one particular job for over 40 years. He loved fishing. He loved swimming. He loved hockey, every Canadian does. And he was a very charismatic person. So he was a little bit of a town hero in Lakeland, where he grew up we spent most of his life. So he loved his family, but if you're asking me about him, I'll say he worked too hard. He worked too hard. So this piece was written sort of as a kind of like a dirge, because it's a song that's kind of like expresses some grief and some lamentation. And if you were to hear it, it's kind of like in the Dorian mode, which is kind of like a minor key, to sort of like what they say about the Dorian mode. They say it's kind of like it gives you the sense of darkness, but with a hint of light. So that's kind of the way that was framed. So this piece is called African Nova Scotian Work Song, and was written 32 years ago. And I didn't even know if we were calling ourselves African Nova Scotians then, but I was. So I'd like to share this piece with you. 35 years at one job I did toil, near missed a day, near safe from work's hold. At night I'd reach tired, but you can't see a trace. Coal dust on my hands and black on my face. I climbs atop steeples, pour black molten tar. I lugs wood by sunlight, I hauls stones by stars. I builds them their cradles, their coffins, their graves. When a man's marked by race, his life lot enslaves. When I was a young man, I longed for love's hand. Now that I'm a grown man, I lust for life's end. Oh, I love my children, and oh, too, my wife. But love pines away when work saps off your life. Once I was the blue flame that kindled her nights. Now I'm as cold as a snowflake. She fears me like ice. She cries that I've changed, so I leave her to sulk as I gulp my black diamond to wash down the guilt. They said Nova Scotia's the land of the free, for black loyalists and maroons and black refugees. But a man's not a man when his pride's beat and bruised. The
at the hand of a land that sprays salt in his wounds. Since 1605, my manhood has roamed from Port Royal to Birchtown to Sierra Leone. The praying Black Baptists have all stealed away, but we shouting Black Baptists, we're all here to stay. Hard, hard, working too hard. They say that I'm working too hard. Hard, hard, working so hard. They say that I'm working too hard. That's the Africanization. So, this is the last one. Just wanted to say, for this last one that I just put together last year, when I wrote a few pieces for this same show. So we Black Baptists from the African Nova Scotian nation, we Africanized Christianity. I mean, we really did. And by the way, we're not just a collection of 52 historic Black communities. We are the African Nova Scotian nation. And from now on, I want us to refer to ourselves that way, because this power in nationhood, and that power is what has sustained us for over 300 years as a people. So we are from the African Nova Scotian nation. We are a country inside of a country. So I digress. I want to get to is to say that this last piece is like a series of, I would say, thoughts, fleeting ideas about the tensions between Christianity and Africanity. Or maybe just in my world. But historically, many of the things we did to find our African selves in Christianity were considered sinful or wicked, if not blasphemous. So, I mean, come on. You all know that some of us still get a little nervous when we see somebody catch the Holy Ghost. We still do. And that Holy Ghost power is that's that African spirituality coming up, right? But we're not always comfortable with that. So this piece is keeping in with this lamentation again. This is sort of a lamentation of sorts, because it kind of expresses a little bit of the grief and sorrow over the loss of our authentic ways of spiritual expression. And this is called Dear Lord. It's a short one. Gotta get the rhythm of it right, because I haven't really read it. Don't let me fall, dear Lord. I want to be a righteous servant. I want to throw off those pagan ways. Don't let me fall, dear Lord. I was beguiled by their idols. Now I've surrendered to the Master's ways. Don't let me backslide, dear Lord. I can't stop shouting and singing, and my feet just want to stomp and dance. Don't let me backslide, dear Lord. Once the Holy Ghost takes me over, their God can't stand a chance. Don't let me weep, dear Lord, about how I lost my faith and how I wept when I found my name. Don't let me weep, dear Lord, about my soul's conversion when I returned home to the promised land. Don't let me preach, dear Lord, about the secrets they kept from me and your ransom that has set me free. Don't let me preach, dear Lord, because I have no reason to fear you, because I know that there's a God in me. Don't let me wait, dear Lord, on restitution for lost beliefs. And don't let me wait, dear Lord, for the devil to get behind me. And don't let me wait, dear Lord, for my ultimate African salvation And please, please, please don't make me wait, dear Lord, for my spiritual reparations. This is my poem, and now it's a song.
Don't let me fall, dear Lord. I want to be a righteous servant. I want to throw off these pagan ways. Don't let me fall, dear Lord. I was beguiled by the idols. Now I'll surrender to the Master's ways. Don't let me backslide, dear Lord. I can't stop shouting and singing, and my feet just want to stomp and dance. Don't let me backslide, dear Lord. Once the Holy Ghost takes me over, then God just don't stand a chance. Don't let me wait, dear Lord, on restitution for my lost beliefs. Don't make me wait, dear Lord, for slavery and the devil to get me behind me. Don't let me weep, dear Lord, about how I lost my faith, how I wept when I found my name. Don't let me weep, dear Lord, about my soul's conversion when I return to the promised land. Don't make me wait, dear Lord, for the weak to thirst for salvation. Don't let me wait, dear Lord, for my spiritual reparation. Don't let me preach, dear Lord, about the secrets that they kept from me and your ransom that set me free. Don't let me preach, dear Lord. I have no reason to fear you, 'cause there's good inside of me. 'Cause there's good inside of me.
Wow! Wow! And this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. For crying out loud. Thrilled, happy, ecstatic, liberated. And I just want to follow in the wake of Sister Vina by saying that the African Nova Scotia nation, that nation that some of us may also call Africadia, and the Africadian people, we're talking about a spiritual nation, which is very, very ready for receipt of reparations. Just got to say that. We're moving right along, and I get to speak now to recite some poetry by a lady by the name of Anna Minerva Henderson. And Anna Minerva Henderson was the first Black Canadian woman, first African Canadian woman to publish a book of poetry, and that was in 1967 when she was 80 years old, 80 years old. She was born in 1887 in New Brunswick, and she died in 1987. So it's very easy for me to remember her years. She was a centenarian. She was 100 years old when she passed on. So I'm going to read 3 poems by her, and the last poem will be the one that is now a song entitled Prayer Meeting. I should say a couple more things about her. She was extremely gifted, very high IQ. When she applied to enter the federal civil service in the 19-teens, after teaching for a while in Nova Scotia, she ended up earning the 3rd highest grade in the entire Dominion of Canada to enter the civil service. And she became a secretary to a minister of the Crown. And she kept that position throughout her entire working life, retiring ultimately back to New Brunswick and then getting ready to publish her book Citadel in 1967. She was very modest. She didn't talk very much about her accomplishments, and it's too bad that she's not around to be recognized as the first Black Canadian woman poet. But so she was. And here's the first poem. It's called A Garden Remembered. Oh, by the way, she writes in rhyme sometimes, frequently. Tall trees, aristocrats, in form and pride grew there. Drifts of gay flowers talked with me. No maritime garden sea fog drenched could hide its lovely fragrance breathing of the sea. And so the garden lives within my heart with the eternal things that do not fail. Invisible, but there it has a part, and I can paint it to the last detail. Today, huge houses crowd the garden space, arrogant, stark, and economic boast. Progress has turned a devastating face. No loveliness is there. There is no ghost of the lost garden, of the beauty spent, save one tall tree bending as in lament. I don't know when she wrote that poem, but I'd like to see it dusted off and used by many of us to complain about overdevelopment and so on, which is, I know it's a huge plague in Toronto, the good. I know that, and I suspect it's maybe just a little bit of a plague developing in Halifax too. But anyway, if you think that way, you can always turn to Anna Minerva Henderson's poem. The next poem is a free verse poem by her, and it's entitled Crow and Critic. And I think this is her response as a Black woman poet to a critic who'd had an unkind thing or two to say about her poetry. So she's speaking back to that critic in this poem, Crow and Critic. Winter had gone like an absconding tenant, quietly, stealthily, save for the passionate, almost indignant outbursts of wind and rain, sweeping away all traces. Spring moved in overnight, and today, patches of soft green appeared between the red bricks of the street. The sky was cloudlessly blue, and the air, laden with fragrance of growing things, seemed all color and light. Over the way, a crow wheeled and circled. Contrary to the usual opinion of crows, this one could be called beautiful. Its feathers glistened and scintillated in the sun, and flapping majestically, it came to rest on the steeple ball of the old Lutheran church. Service was being held, and the singing in great waves of glorious sound came to me in my window. The crow, looking down with its head on one side, listened intently, and could it have been with intelligence and enjoyment. It was a spring day at its best, and I made a poem of what I saw from my window, including, of course, the crow. The critic, with a capital C, the critic said, "The crow flapping seems to be a digression. What does it really contribute to the meaning of the poem?" I might have quoted Archibald MacLeish, "A poem should not mean but be," but replied, "It was part of the picture I saw from my window, so I put it in." I had not then heard of Dylan Thomas's poem and his crow. I was glad it was part of the picture he saw from his window, and that he too put it in. I am not, however, buying a blind for my window. Thank you. So, Anna Minerva Henderson. And the last poem, which rhymes, and I always wanted to hear this poem treated as a song. It's one of those songs, one of those poems I sent to Dee Dee. I said, you gotta make this into a song, Dee Dee. Don't let me down. Brother, you have to do it. And of course, he doesn't always agree, even when I'm pleading and begging on bended knee. On bended knee, to quote Donald Trump, on bended knee. But this time he said, okay, Brother George, okay, I'll turn this one into a song. It's actually a comic piece. It's called Prayer Meeting. It's based on her experiences teaching school in a Black Nova Scotian community, one of the communities of the nation, I'll hasten to add. And she witnessed this event where a Black woman congregant, Sister Susie Gray, took issues with the deacon and decided that she was going to go stand outside in the middle of a blizzard rather than have to stand inside and listen to the deacon address the congregation. So that's the story behind the poem. It rhymes. Here it is. And I think we all know Sister Susie Gray. I think we all know Sister Susie Gray. Well, here it is, Prayer Meeting. Revivals and long winter nights seem to go hand in hand. The villagers found strength in the first, the latter to withstand. The brightly lighted meeting house with all the neighbors there, the comradeship and singing eased the daily load of care. That night the service had begun. A frightful storm arose. The snow was stinging powdered ice that swirled in drifts and froze. The meeting house was bright and warm. The deacon knelt to pray. When from her seat and down the aisle marched Sister Susie Gray. Out in the storm and banged the door with a resounding thud. The deacon just waxed more eloquent. His words poured in a flood. Over the old South Meadow lot they'd quarreled, and Susie said she'd never listen to his voice, though she should be struck dead. And so the deacon prayed and prayed. The folk were ill at ease. Never was heard so long a prayer. 'Twas hard upon the knees. But harder still on Susie Gray. We shivered for her there and wondered if she could survive that masterpiece in prayer. At long last, even prayers must end with a wild gust of snow. Stiffly but gamely, Susie came into the warmth and glow. The tangy salt sea breeze down east preserves our hardy folk. That night of seeming tragedy became a standing joke. And now, the song.
The service had begun, a frightful storm arose. The snow was stinging powdered ice that swirled in drifts and throes. The meeting house was bright and warm, the deacon knelt to pray, when from her seat and down the aisle came Sister Susie Gray. She marched out in the storm and banged the door with a resounding thud. The deacon waxed more eloquent, his words poured in a flood. Over the old South Meadow lot they quarreled, and Susie said she'd never listen to his voice, though she should be struck dead. Susie Gray, she'd never listen to his voice, though she should be struck dead. So the deacon prayed and prayed, the folks were ill at ease. Never was heard so long a prayer, 'twas hard upon the knees. But harder still on Susie Gray, we shivered for her there, and wondered if she could survive that masterpiece in prayer. Susie Gray, we wondered if she could survive that masterpiece in prayer. massive and prayers must end with the wild gust of snow. Stiffly but gamely, Susie came into the warmth and glow. The tangy, salty breeze down east preserves our hardy folk. The night of sin and tragedy became a standing joke. Susie Gray, Susie Gray. The night of sin and tragedy became a standing joke.
Excelente. Excelente. Okay, we are, of course, we're still just getting started. Everybody feeling warmed up? Wonderful, wonderful, because it is my great, unmixed, unadulterated pleasure to now introduce to you the formidable, incredibly eloquent Mr. Performance in stereo himself, the righteous, ever powerful Mr. Stedman Party, who comes to us partly from Newfoundland and partly from Toronto and partly from great Italian inspiration. So here we have Mr. Stedman Hardy.
Hopefully I can live up to that. I want to thank George for having me, all of you for coming, and I'm not going to waste my time up here. I'll just kick into it. This is a free jazz poem for Joan Baez after an encounter I had with her at Roy Thompson Hall. It feels as if I knew you in a past life. You could have been my sister, enemy, lover, mother, girlfriend, ruler, or wife. All I know is that you're definitely a kindred spirit, but I can't remember us and our families dying from the plague, us being crucified upon the most crookedest of crosses, whoring ourselves on the cobblestone streets of Malestrana. Prague, I don't remember the love and stimulating pain that we experienced outside the Dali Museum in Figueres. Spain, witnessing the tomato and bullfights through the eyes of a drugged and drunken baby's brain. Clay labyrinthian coffin, green chrysalis black, the first, second, and third Diwalis. The mysteries at Eloisis. Facing a firing squad on a warm summer night, walking a radio around a strangled stick, the Garden of Eden, the black-hooded executioner's shiny axe at the haunted Tower of London, concretizing liquid, wet leather, Arcadabasis, wordless poems, us having blonde hair and blue eyes while living in Helsingborg, Sweden, the torture chambers of Venice. In the Middle East, us devouring bootleg liquor, gnawing hallucinogenic roots and berries, beaming up to an inaccessible land of Bergelmeers, Asuras, oceanids, and fairies, while picnicking in Central Park, New York in the 1320s, hiding from the pork. Moments of realization, really divining what sits on the other end of that fork. Me telling you, if anything were to happen to me, or if I was to go, don't forget me, Joan Baez, because even if I was trapped in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's, there's no way I could ever forget about you and our time as dinosaurs, leopards, insects, snakes, birds, monkeys, pandas, foxes, sloths, elephants, butterflies, penguins, Neanderthals, bacteria, trees, and fish. and the extended time we spent as coyote-wolf hybrids and a dying kid's wish, you can't even remember rogue zookeepers in Auschwitz, Mesopotamia, the floating world of Japan. When the black ships came, Agartha, misinvading our ravaged forests, and the exploding plastic inevitable, you can't even remember red clouds, white skies, silver waters, black sand, gold moons, us being lynched by the Klan, crossing the Bering Strait, walking the plank, the basement of Studio 54, African tribal drums whipping us and our now extinct tribe into shamanic ecstasy as celebrations of pre-logical existence and the renaissance of the 2200s, the resistance, the human being of 1967, Pink Floyd's Games for May, and that awkward life when I was the woman and you were the man. We've existed as casualties of the subhuman psyche since the very beginning of the idea of time. I have already squandered the platinum of our youth in this life. What do you think I'm going to do to the blood diamonds of our future? I can clearly remember the nebulous vistas of our lunar Earth, us self-exiling ourselves along the seashores of that other world, studying the heraldry of Finn folk. David Bowie and Nine Inch Nails touring together in 1995, the St. John, St. Vitus Dancing Mania 1518, you dating that dweeb Steve Jobs and Bob Dylan, and you locking arms with me after your performance at Roy Thompson Hall. I guess this is just a mission statement, what I do for all of you. My time up here is probably briefer than the time I might have left on this planet, so I'm just going to kick into it. Sectarian death squads wandering the deserted desert of a crackhead's pipe dream who can turn vinegar into your favorite wine and contaminated water into champagne. I can transform your ills into ahs like a strong Germanic king. For you will survive being taken for a ride by a burly Calabrian hitman with piercing gray blue eyes, jet black hair, and a high-pitched falsetto. For you I will race, sprint through a swarm of enraged African bees, and emerge unstung for you. For you I will superglue my stacked deck of upturned cards onto every smashed glass table and wear my liquid skeleton outside of my soft skin like a twin crab scuttling indirectly toward its goal, which lays directly ahead of it. I'll rip off your blindfold made of wool and remove the muzzle from your mouth and tear up that stale book of old rules. For you, I will free the imprisoned goldsmith and cook every sacred cow and golden goose and wake the sleeping giants and dogs where they lay, if I must, and bear witness to the penultimate truth and beat a few Kenyans and Ethiopians in a long-distance marathon. For you, I will face the dissolution and the discordant music. For you, I'll confide my secret belief that when Salvador Dali died, he became again our supreme ruling deity, which explains why our world is the way it now is. For you, I will shine a harsh, unbearable light upon everything that has ever been lost and forbidden, bidden, burnt, hidden, and reveal the hoarded, esoteric wisdom of the ages, and unbag the legendary cat. I will shed the white blood of my soul to give you the skeleton key in the hole, an expurgated hog. I will risk life, limb, love, sanity, poverty, health, and reputation, and pay the steep price in order to grant you a precognitive glimpse, a bald, mechanical eagle's eye view of the things to come, and conjure something new. You have no idea what I'm willing to put my nervous system through. The perilous journeys of Enoch, Dante, Ulysses, Kevin Garvey, and every romantic swashbuckling hero, bringing us the broomstick of the wicked witch of the West, can't hold a snuff bloody candle to what I've been through and will continue to go through to earn your love, and conjure something new. This last poem, which I didn't think any of my work could be turned into a song, and here it is. It was commissioned by Lillian Allen, who's the Poet Laureate of Toronto. It's written in a different style than I'm used to performing, so it's called On the Lam, which is, about being on the run. I was able to get out of Toronto or out of Canada, and finally, during the pandemic, get to the beaches of Portugal. My first time outside North America, so here it is. Out here, everything hits different. Out here, I'm given a clean slate, a blank canvas, and am blissfully unhindered by the laughable decoys of race, religion, gender, and caste, and have no one lurking over my dandruff-spotted, cold chip-adorned shoulder. Out here, I'm able to stand without a single crutch, let alone two, while widening my dilating, augmented perspective, and can finally escape the solitary prison of the person I became, eventually, with the murky, predatory, self-serving assistance of the lowest common denominator's crude, self-limiting, soul-shriveling, stereotype-spoiled progeny, trying to strong-arm us all into towing their party's fine, bottom-dotted line, and no longer feel the niggling premonitions of impending doom, telling me I have to act and dress a certain way and blast a certain kind of music. Out here, I'm not getting programmed by the irrational fear of their boogeyman's red hair and crying wolf, or the oft-repeated sound bites of /the controlled narrative, and have slipped away from the asphyxiating, jujitsu-like grip of the bounty hunters, bloodhounds, and strategic, philanthropic billionaires, ventriloquist, cat's paws restrictions posse. Back there, out here, evading the severe risk of discovery, smuggled aboard a schooner to the great auspicious hour of hope to seek a bright future of freedom. As a fugitive through the railroad underground, seeing everything now through rookie eyes. From an experiential vantage point, I can witness the thick, lush mane of your black, lactating sunset betwixt the distant cliffs, illuminated by the onion-skinning light of the full moon during an eclipse, and am not entombed in the stifling, bioprinted, flesh-covered pyramids of left, right, and center, ensorcelled over here in self-exile, where the sea ends and the land begins. I am no longer weighed down by what troubled me in the past, and can finally, truly breathe.
Out here, out
Out here, everything is different. Out here, I'm given a clean slate, a blank canvas, and I'm blissfully unhindered by the laughable decoys of race, religion, gender, and caste, and have no mastering lurking edge of spotted cold shoulder, chip of dawn shoulder. Out here, I'm able to stand without a single crutch, let alone two, while widening my dilating, augmented perspective and can finally escape the solitary prison of the person I became. Eventually, with the murky, predatory, self-serving assistance of the lowest common denominator, cruel, self-limiting, soul-shriveling, stereotypes, spoiled progeny, trying to strong-arm us into towing their party's blotted fine, bottom dotted line, and no longer feeling the niggling premonitions of impending doom, telling me I got to act a certain way, dress a certain way, blast a certain kind of music. Out here, I'm not getting programmed by the irrational fear, the boogeyman's red herring crying wolf, or the oft-repeated sound bites of a /the controlled narrative, and I've slipped away from the asphyxiating jiu-jitsu-like grip of the bounty hunters, bloodhounds, and strategic philanthropic billionaires, ventriloquists, cat's paw restrictions, posse back here, back there, out here, evading the severe risk of discovery, smuggled aboard a schooner to the great auspicious hour of hope, to seek a bright future of freedom for your daddy, freedom for your mama, as a fugitive through the railroad underground, seeing everything now through rookie eyes from an experimental vantage point. I can witness the thick, lush mane of your black, lactating sunset betwixt the district cliffs, illuminated on onion skinning light of the full moon during an eclipse, and am not entombed in the stifling bio-printed flesh-covered pyramids of left, right, and center. And so over here, in self-exile where the sea ends and the land begins, I am no longer unburdened by what has been. I am no longer weighed down by the trouble within. I am no longer troubled by me in the past. And finally, I can truly breathe.
We are so privileged to have joining with us this afternoon Ms. Salima Turkmani McDonald, Algerian Canadian, out of Riverview, Nouveau-Brunswick, and also out of Toronto, the big crabapple. And so privileged to have her here with us this afternoon. She also participated in 5 poets breaking into song number 15, which unfolded last night at the Marigold Cultural Center of Truro, Nova Scotia. And Salima is beginning what is going to be a storied career as a poet, having earned a degree in creative writing from the number 4 university on the planet, which is the University of Toronto, where I teach. Without any further ado, I want to welcome Salima Turkmani McDonald.
just wanted to start by saying how honored and humbled I am to be here sharing the stage with such immensely talented people. Last night's show was amazing. This show is going great so far. It's really special for me too because before I developed an interest in poetry, I was a singer and a guitar player, so it's just been so nice to be able to bridge those two passions together. So thank you, Dr. Clark, for the invitation, and thank you to everyone in the audience for believing in the value of creative expression. This first poem I'm going to read is called To My Ancestors on the Ocean Floor. I hear whispers in the waves call long forgotten names across the Atlantic, sing hymns, recite prayers in extinct languages, 2 million voices. A boy chased a monarch into the ocean off the coast of Ayutthaya. He wore honey-colored board shorts, grin gapped like a cowrie shell. Like a fallen mangrove leaf, he floated there, face down. A great-great-grandchild swallowed up in sea foam. The Middle Passage knows no difference. Great whites still hunt the dying. I never open my eyes underwater, afraid I'll see the ghost of someone I should recognize, but don't. Thank you. This next poem is a 6-part poem about Emmett Till, and it's called Tallahatchie River. Part 1. Under Black Bayou Bridge, I catch her bleeding boy, dilute the death blow, flood his eardrums, a bullet hole, bathe him in a lullaby, barricade my undertow. I gulp him in, gag on splintered bones, choke on his kin, lips still sticky with soda, bubblegum plugging his throat. His father's silver ring clings to a bloated blue-black finger. A candy bar wrapper trails behind him in the water. Part 2. Burr Oak Cemetery, 2005. When they exhume his body for a 3rd time, 5 decades too late, it has nothing left to tell. A backhoe spoons earth. A mother's prayer seeps through the dirt. Hallelujahs hang in the willow trees. Part 3. Riverview Middle School, 2014. A newspaper clipping of a glass-topped casket packed in quicklime. His swollen face, fished from the bottom of a Mississippi river, projected on the blackboard. Our 8th grade teacher warned those with weak stomachs to close their eyes. My classmates, each of them peach-skinned, retch at his gouged-out eye, his severed ear. They are grateful for the monochrome, the dust-caked projector lens. They never see him again. I see him all the time. Part 4. Rivers and oceans seldom mix, but here every current is estuary. Outstretched limbs reach for pork chops with extra pepper, a Rawlings baseball. There are no firearms underwater, no bullets, no battering rams, no need to fight for air. There is a vigil tonight, up above. Extinguished paper lanterns land at the surface, float to the sea floor like empty cocoons, drowned fireflies. Part 5. We switch off the television just in time, before the news gets too gruesome. My best friend posts a black box on Instagram in place of protest. Part 6. South Shore Beach, Chicago, 1961. She combs South Shore, remembering her son, their race to 63rd Street Station, his crepe-soled shoes slapping pavement, quilted with algae. She wants to run the snakes from the river, wrap his wounds in gauze, bleach the blood from his slacks, fix him a plate. She bows her head in unanswerable prayer, and the willow trees, heavy with yesterdays, shake loose their dead. Thank you. I'm going to take that baby crawling towards me as a compliment. The final poem I'm going to read for you is called Sunday Service, and this is the one that's been turned into a song. Submerged in a font of tap water and chlorine, coddled in pink tulle and frilly socks, as if my outfits proved loyalty to God. I hated pink. Mom hated when I dared talk back. The priest pressed the host into our palms like he was saving us himself, and they clung to him like fawn, added extra syllables to their amens. Christ hung at the back of the altar, ribs poking through skin as white as a sheet. Stained glass cast kaleidoscopes through the church, liquefied his suffering into multicolored puddles on the floorboards. The choir specialized in off-key harmonies, the ceiling fan too high to give off air. The scent of myrrh and mildew incensed my clothes. I wonder what he would think of our congregation, who complained the new priest's accent was too hard to understand, and refused to take the body of Christ from his brown hands, hands that look like mine. Thank you.
Submerged in a font of tap water and chlorine, coddled in pink tulle and frilly socks, as if my outfits proved loyalty to God. I hated pink. Mom hated when I dared talk back. The priest pressed the host into our palms like he was saving us himself, and they clung to him like fawn, added extra syllables to their amen. Christ hung at the back of the altar, ribs poking through skin as white as a sheet. Stained glass cast kaleidoscopes through the church, liquefied his suffering into multicolored puddles. specialized in off-key harmonies. The ceiling fan too high to give off air. The scent of myrrh and mildew incensed my clothes. I wonder what he'd think of our congregation, who complained the new priest's accent was too hard to understand, and refused to take the body of Christ from his brown hands that look like mine.
Shanice Skinner. Dee Dee Jackson. Salima Turknani McDonald. Yes! The revolution may now begin. What a great honor and privilege. How exciting and thrilling it is to begin the process of introducing she who needs no introduction, she whose very bearing and eloquence and her very vocabulary is the very substance and definition of justice and equality and liberation, and it will also add diversity and integrity and enlightenment, and why not? Because we are always in dire need of all of the above. And not only that, Ms. L. Jones, Dr. L. Jones, always puts together with her poetry the message of deliverance, the plan for liberation, the revelation of the always necessary struggle and desire and eventual triumph of justice. And so I invite Dr. Jones to this podium.
Good afternoon. Peace, everybody. Peace. Can't do without us. We've been central. Yes, we know that we're essential, work us to death, and yet in general denied benefits, pensions, dental. Treat us like we're instrumental, like a pencil or utensil. You may not own us, but we're still rentals. History changed the way you tell it. Write us off and say you found it. Black servants who never counted. Indigenous land is your surroundings. A Sherpa led you up that mountain. The high rises glitter through our downtown. A janitor pushes a mop around. Without us, you'd not get off the ground. Without us, you would not survive. The retail workers and delivery drivers skip the dishes, skip the lineup, call someone aisle 5 for cleanup. Manager tells us to speed up. Just sit back and put your feet up. One of us will come to sweep up. We climb the ladder while you leap up. Inch by inch we try to creep up. We're the storm inside the teacup. Mind the kids, assist the teachers, cashiers, cabbies, nannies, cleaners. Don't acknowledge, but you need us. don't acknowledge, but you need us, can't do without us. Been the leaders, built this country before we freed us. Resist against the overseers, Chloe Cooley, Angelique, Richard Preston, Thomas Peters, railway porters on those sleepers. Look through history how they treat us. Sweatshop workers sew your sneakers, slave catchers patrol police us, lock us up for misdemeanors simply for our skin and features, catch us up in your procedures, still we all remain the dreamers. Immigrants and refugees from the mailroom to the corner office, still they always profit off us. They hire us, they say we're cautious, giving us a lower offer, wage gap. Resume is tossed, doesn't change when we're white collar. We work for pennies on the dollar, say his job just makes him bothered. The way they treat us, that's unlawful. That's why we band together so they can't stop us. Like the ones who came before us, carried best in those who taught us. Don't give in, get a lawyer, black class action, fight the system, strike, petition, lawsuit, sit in without demands, they'll never listen. Bromley Armstrong, we're your children. Lynn Jones, too, and Jen Simpson organized the whole damn building, one, then two, and then a million. No more temps and turns and fill-ins. Solidarity is a given. We're done code switching, trying to fit in. No more deals that try to cheat us. Pay us if you want to keep us. Work twice as hard. Overachievers, can't admit it, but you need us. Can't admit it, but you need us. Can't do without us on your committees, civil service, secretaries, administrators, do the spreadsheets, only know our value once you leave us. Without us, who would plan for February? Emotional labor drives us crazy, except we always know our history. Should I take it back to treaties? Gave their aid to Europeans. In return, they got diseases, but you never can delete us. Domestic workers from West Indies, status for all is what we need. Bring us from across the ocean, can't do without us. We're not tokens, rebellions in our hemoglobin. Lift the signs and shout the slogans, no justice while this land is stolen. All this oppression, we're unbroken. Tired of how it goes unspoken. Foreign qualifications, no promotions. Natural hair cause a commotion. Somehow we're just never chosen. Say we're angry when we show emotion. Say you don't accept diplomas when it comes to us. The doors aren't open when it comes to us. The money's frozen when it comes to us. A secret quota. We rose up in Minnesota. Standing Rock in North Dakota. Now here comes another coda. Pay us what you know you owe us. Reparation and settlement grievance. Divide and rule won't come between us. Mi'kmaq fisheries will feed us with this sovereign land beneath us. Fight before they leave us treeless. Fight before the pipelines reach us. Fight on land that's still unseeded. Stand together. You can't beat us. You might pretend that you can't see us, but don't forget it. That you need us, can't do without us, 'cause you need us, built this whole damn thing. You best believe it. The last poem I'm going to do is the one that the song is, but right before that I'm going to do a poem. I recently got back from the West Bank. I want to say that if we're going to talk about Christianity, we should not talk about it with any sincerity if we can't stand up for those whose bloodlines go back to Jesus in Palestine. I was able to perform this poem in the Cultural Center in Ramallah, and then in Bethlehem I performed the poem you're about to hear as a song, so we were able to exchange those experiences. They sit in their newsrooms with their mics and their wires. Night by night, all they bring us are one-sided liars. CBC's bias, they don't even hide it, shouldn't surprise us. They're all colonizers. Don't get on the air unless you sing in their choirs. One by one, all the Muslim journalists fired. And Palestine's children are burning in fire, while protesters arrested for putting up flyers. Arrest us for chants. From the sea to the river, every word that we use ends up forbidden. They say Palestinians aren't even existing. Trudeau thinks that genocide's surely a winner. They called the police for interrupting their dinner. Our politicians take money to visit the killers. They go on vacation, so now they stay quiet while Palestine's children are burning in fire. They're sending our taxes to weapon sellers and buyers. Every day of this occupation, their profits go higher. We send our police to be trained by advisors who roam the West Bank as terrorizers. And inside Israel's prisons are thousands of minors and women imprisoned without even a trial, living with checkpoints inside of those wires. They cut off the food and all the supplies, and no anesthesia for surgery either. If you show any joy, you just might expire. They're adding the doctors to funeral pyres. They're killing the journalists and banning the writers, and even the olives on the branches are dying. They tell us their plans are to leave no survivors. They say no one is innocent, not even in diapers. So Palestine's children are burning in fire. Israel's resumed bombing and dropping their shells. They kidnapped more people to put in their cells. In the West Bank, where no Hamas dwells, a pregnant woman, they say, is a 2-for-1 kill. And who's there to stop them? Nobody can tell. Biden's all in, saying Gaza farewell, and we voted for settlements at the UN, and we'll keep saying Israel's right to defend, while every few hours another child dead. And if you play soccer, they'll shoot for your legs. Shireen Abu Akleh, they shot in the head, and they'll wage all this war without our consent. So be careful what products you buy off the shelf. Don't let propaganda put you under a spell, and I hope Henry Kissinger's burning in hell, along with all the war criminals who run this empire, will force all these murdering scumbags to retire, because Palestine's children are dying in fire. Thank you. This last poem I wrote for a rally here. Thank you so much to Didi and Kadeem. Like I said, I also got to do this in Bethlehem to Winter Isaac, so it was a really powerful moment to share. My people, take heed how their plans do proceed. If you don't want black people to breed, then you don't let them read. And when a people can't read, then they can't sign the deed. And then you can take whatever you need. Take their land with no fee. They don't have to agree. And you can just claim whatever you steal, or maybe a place for their pets to go pee. And they run round the park while black people ain't free. If they build a place to pray, bulldoze it away. If they gather to learn, then let it all burn. Don't give them cash, dump their trash, and whatever they ask, tell them people like them just aren't up to the task. Don't give them jobs, watch them rob, give them guns, watch the fun, watch their grandmothers sob, jail them all when you're done. Don't give them seeds, let them bleed, deprivation's the key. Clean them out, screen them out, don't let them get a degree. Move in, build the condos, and force them to leave. And whatever they achieve, find a way to go thieve. They're not homes, they're just shacks. There's no home when you're black. And through their backyard run the railroad tracks. Don't give them no services, though they pay tax. Make them walk behind you with a weight on their back, and when they die, put their bodies away in the back. Garbage trucks are good enough for their stuff when they pack, so don't let them relax. Let them work till they crack, and crack down on them, say that they pimp and sell crack. Relocate them by sewage and by the smokestacks. And when they become numbers and stats, tell them that's just the facts. They don't know why we won't die, but we're strong. We've survived. With all that they've tried to rule and divide, to control and deprive, but they haven't succeeded. In fact, we just rise like a garden they've weeded, like a forest revives once the fires receded. They tell us we're inferior, we've never believed it. Judged by our skin and not our interiors, against the odds, plus with God we are never defeated. With their greed, we've been cheated. Just look how we're treated. Slavery and Jim Crow, it's always repeated, and yet with our sweat, with our faith and our blood, if they don't pay the debt, they can't hold back the flood. Do you see us? that some are all over their streets, but don't be fooled, we're not cool staying down on our knees. This is land that we're owed and we're not saying please. And apologies, no, they are never enough, and no, not fake churches. We're calling your bluff, give us land, reparations, we want back our stuff. Or did you forget that our people are tough? And there's new generations, and they're coming up, and do you see our elders, the looks on their faces? So don't play your games with your cash and suitcases, with your maps. We're black people, you try to erase us, all this spirit, it never has faded. And we won't be persuaded. Too long we have waited. Justice won't be denied even though you've delayed it. And maybe we marched it or maybe we prayed it, but the art of the universe always is weighted to justice, to freedom. It bends. We can make it. We've already come through the destruction and hatred, and I know this sundial don't catch the sun with the way it's positioned, but we all know what time it is. Don't get it twisted, and all they're afflicted, convicted, victimized, kicked down on assistance. We're not how we're depicted. We're not afraid now. I don't know how you've missed it, and the blood in our veins is a powerful liquid. So when you see us out here all clapping and singing, you can hear that church bell that will always be ringing. It will always be ringing with the songs of the field. And we're all standing up from the places we've kneeled, and our faith is our shield. Our spines made of steel. We've been raised in the dark. We're strategic and patient. The spark in our eyes is pure determination. Our ancestors have put you on notification. We won't stop till you give us our full reparations.
My people take heed how the plans do proceed. If you don't want black people to breathe, then you don't let them read. And when people can't read, then they can't sign the deed. Take whatever you need, take whatever no fear, and they don't have to agree. Make their lawns a place for your dog to pee. If they gotta find a place to drive, drive it away. And at homes, they're just shacks. There's no home when you're black. My people take heed how their plans do proceed. You don't want black people to breathe, and you don't let them read. And when people can read, then they can't sign the deed. Take whatever you need, take the living no fee. They don't have to agree. Make their lawns a place for the dog to pee. If they build a place to pray, bulldoze it away. They're not homes, they're just shacks. There's no home when you're black. In their backyard, railroad tracks. They don't get no service, though they pay tax. Make them walk behind you with a weight on their backs. And when they die, stick their bodies in back. They're at home. They're just shacks. Ain't no home when you're black. That's why the statistics, they're addicted, afflicted, convicted, kicked down, and not have afflicted. The strong will survive, although you will try to rule and divide, to control and deprive, revive, strive, forward and strive. And when you see us out here, all clapping and singing, and you hear the church bell, well, the church bell be ringing, it will always be ringing with the songs of the field, and we're standing up from the places, all the places we've been. Our purposes, our shield, our smiles, our majesty. We're raising the dark with strategic and patient, the spark in our eyes is determination. We put you on notification. Give us this day our reparations. Africa demands full restoration. The revolution has begun.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you.
Deep Bowman. L. Jones. Dr. D.D. Jackson.
I thought about to call me that, but okay.
It is my great pleasure now to invite the unforgettable Stedman Party to recite a poem that I have written. It's actually a spiritual, as Dee Dee has written the music for it, titled God Struck Down. And just to say a few words about that and about this project, this other project that Dee Dee and I have been involved with for the last year or so. I always was struck by the Duke Ellington album, Black, Brown, and Beige, with great singing by Mahalia Jackson, in particular on that jazz record, jazz gospel if you like, jazz spiritual if you like. And so I did what I always like to do, which is to challenge Dee Dee to come up with his own gospel jazz spiritual with African Nova Scotian nation style. And so that's what he's embarked on, and that's what you're hearing some of today, are the pieces from what I hope will be yet another CD from this gentleman, the maestro, D.D. Jackson himself, spiritual music and spirited music, and spirited poems and spiritual poems. And so that's what this next poem is part of, that project, which is ongoing at the moment. And so without any further ado, Stedman Party reciting God Struck Down.
Public speaking is my biggest fear growing up, and to perform the first time was enough. To have to follow that performance, and to have to do a cover of one of George's poems just adds to it, but I'll give it a shot. God struck down every hinge and every roof, made each Confederate a maggot spoof, made each Confederate a maggot spoof. Ashes, pollen, blossoming smoke and mist, destroyed, blood drizzled, damned old Dixie is destroyed, blood drizzled, damned old Dixie is. Vain tyrants ebbed from rapture to rabies, slain too were bells, and dashed down their babies, slain too were bells, and dashed down their babies. Chasing stalwart, shining, that high north star. Quit slaves gen Canaan, its gold gates ajar. Quit slaves gen Canaan, its gold gates ajar. Escaping slave masters, grave diggers, hell, seek now we all an Eden where there's no jail cell. Seek we all now that Eden where there's no jail cell. Thank you.
God struck down every hinge and every roof, made each confederate a maggot spoof. Ashes, pollen, blossoming smoke, and mists destroyed, God drizzled, damned Dixie's. God struck down every hinge and roof, made each confederate a maggot spoof. Ashes, pollen, blossoming smoke, and mists destroyed, but drizzled down the Dixies. Caesars and from rapture to rabies, slain to a mouse and bashed their babies, chasing starward shining that high north star. Queen slaves find Canaan's gold gates ajar, escaping slave masters, grave diggers, God struck down every hitch and every roof, made each confederate a maggot spoof. Ashes, pollen, blossoming smoke, and mist destroyed, blood drizzled down the Dixies. God struck down every hitch and every roof, made each confederate a maggot spoof. Ashes, pollen, blossoming smoke, and mists destroyed, blood drizzled down to Dixie's.
Shanice Skinner, Dee Dee Jackson. And I've got to mention right now that Dee Dee Jackson, in the first phase of our collaboration for the last few years, has released a dynamic, dynamite CD titled Poetry Project. And on that CD, you're going to have 13 fire-breathing tracks of the very best jazz composition. And may I say that it's just been rated 5 out of 5. 5 stars out of 5. 5 big gold stars out of 5 in the Whole Note magazine review today. Today. You need to get to the book table at the end. You need to grab as many of those CDs as you can, pay for them. As many as you can, pay for them. And I know that this gentleman will sign those CDs for you. And those of us who have books will only be too happy to sign for you. One more note about this project. So the Poetry Project CD was the first CD to come out of this particular collaboration between Dr. Jackson. I know he doesn't like me saying that, but Dr. Jackson and myself. And I'm hopeful that we'll find a way to bring all of these divinely inspired pieces together for yet another CD in the near future, another recording in the near future. The next, excuse me, the next piece, the next person I would like to invite to return to the podium is almost Dr. Delina Bernard to recite another poem by me, again meant for this spiritual project, and it's titled Temple's Gonna Tumble, and Temple's Gonna Tremble, rather. And I gotta say one other quick thing about this. As a student of the spirituals, as a student of the blues, as a student of that admirable body of song which relates to the struggle of black people all over the world to win our freedom, our dignity, our liberty, our struggles, and triumph and reparation, and so on. I have been so impressed by those unsung inventors of the spirituals, field hands, uneducated, illiterate human beings, deliberately kept uneducated, who, out of the body of their suffering, raised up song that is immortal and transformative, song that speaks to the hearts and souls of everyone, that is uplifting for us all, that gives us strength to face adversity. And what I like about those spirituals, what I like about those lyrics, is that they are not only about getting through. They are not only about surviving the almost unsurvivable. They are also songs of triumph, songs of victory, songs of righteous power. And that's what I'm hopeful we are going to produce, or that we are producing with the songs that you have heard already today and that are being written by T.D. Jackson. And with that, I have to invite Sister Delvina. Come on back up here.
Yes. Almost, doctor, he said. I'm thinking if nobody will tell that I just take L's poem on reparations, type that up and submit it. If you don't give me my degree for that, I think so. That's better than a dissertation. So I'm just trying to find a fast way out. I had forgotten that I was supposed to do this piece today. And so, no slacking on Brother George's part. So when he handed it to me, and I looked at it and I said, this is about a size 8 font. I usually blow my stuff up to 16, which is why I usually have so many papers with me when I'm doing things. But I was not going to give up an opportunity to recite a piece by my dear friend, Reverend George Clark. He just isn't ordained yet, but he is Reverend Pastor Dr. George Clark. See, I'm putting that on him there. He's already ordained. He's like, we just got to get him ordained, that's all. He doesn't have to go to school for this. So, anyway, and also when I was up here last time, I didn't get a chance to properly thank the maestro, Dee Dee, fantastic. And Dean, you did
such an amazing job. I mean, you brought tears to my eyes having to sit there and say to myself, oh my God, that was wonderful. Very, very much thankful for that. So this beautiful piece by my brother here, Reverend Clark, and it does have a blues timbre to it. I'm gonna see if I can get the rhythm. See if I can get the rhythm. I have to talk like I'm from Lake Loon for that. The Preston Township. In the nation, the African Nova Scotian nation, right? There we go. It's not titled, but that's good. That's all right. I'll go. Temples are gonna tremble, board by board. Mansions are gonna crumble, board by board. Masa's gonna get it, put through the sword. Nothing sacred in slavery. Humble down and pray. Holler, shout, wail or mumble. Masa down to hell, gonna head first tumble. You got reservoirs of gold, you stand proud. You think you'll milk sunlight from a black storm cloud? Masa, your pillar's gonna crash down loud. You ain't cautiously ugly, but frankly thugs. Slippery as moonshine, slimy as slugs. But your bile and blood will flood wherever the sword tugs. No exceptions for the septic. God says you'll whimper and whine as your blood goes fizz. There you go. George Elliott Clark.
This one's a bit audience participation. By the way, I couldn't speak. Oh no! Turn the mic back off. No, I don't want to go on and on. But thank you very much for having me. This is my only chance to speak. So thank you, and thank you, George. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Halifax Public Libraries. Say I should have stopped speaking. And Shanice and team. Okay, I just wanted to mention this is a bit of an audience participation one. You'll love that, don't you? Anybody been watching Jacob Collier? It's not on that level, but it goes like this. Oh, 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 oh.
Temple's gonna tremble board by board. Mansion's gonna crumble board by board. Mess is gonna get put through the sword. Nothing sacred in slavery. Humble down and pray. Holler down, mumble. Mess it down to hell, gonna head first tongue. You got reservoir gold, you
Bowman, Shanice Skinner, Stevie Jackson. It got me thinking that some folks sitting in the White House trying to pick a fight with Canada. Got to be careful. They should remember why the White House is white. Because we went down and burned it back in 1812. So history can repeat itself. Okay? Some folks better be very careful. Of course, it goes without saying that the kind of program that we have today, Saltwater Spirituals and Uppity Blues 2, T-O-O, T-W-O, T-O, and that way I can add Reed Jones. So Saltwater Spirituals, Uppity Blues 2, Reed Jones, who's going to be our next speaker, our next poet. One of the things I most really appreciate about Reed is his dedication to the idea that we need to grow our own food. We need to be able to, independent of corporate control of our food supply, that we need to respect land, that we need to honor land, that we need to hang on to land. It's been said by many that it's kind of difficult to have a nation when you don't have a land base. So it's really important that those of us who still have land within the nation of African Nova Scotia, within the nation of Africadia, we need to honor that and respect our ancestors for what they had to put up with and being given land that was not arable, land that you couldn't do anything with, except that our ancestors surprised everybody. The colonial, racist, slaveholders government in Nova Scotia said, we're going to give all you folks the worst possible land. So you have no choice but to humble down and work for us as basically almost slaves, be our servants, and receive the least possible pay for the hardest work. And they thought that they had won. They thought that they had destroyed us. They thought that they would make it impossible for us to stay. What they didn't understand, because they're stupid, what they didn't understand is that for people who were fleeing slavery, for people who had liberated themselves from enslavement, to come to a place where you had a little piece of land meant that you could put up your home. Somebody might come by and call it a shack. No, it's your home. And what they didn't realize was how priceless that home was. Because now you had a place where you could have your spouse with you. You could have your children with you. The power of having your children sleep under your own roof. The power of that. The glory of that. That is what the newly liberated, self-freed, once enslaved people dreamt of. Yes, they wanted liberty. Yes, they wanted letters. But they also wanted to have community. Because they knew they could not make it if they did not have that. So yeah, you had your little scraggly piece of land, but your neighbor had their little scraggly piece of land, and then the neighbor across the way had a little scraggly piece of land, and then you're all putting up your homes, you're all putting up a church, you're all putting up a chapel, and all of a sudden you got Africville. All of a sudden you got North Preston. All of a sudden you got Weymouth Falls. All of a sudden you got Windsor Plains. All of a sudden you got Lincolnville, Sunnyvale, Tracadie. All of a sudden you got Hamptons Plains. All of a sudden you've got Guysboro. All of a sudden you got Beachville. Thank you so very much. I apologize to everybody in Beachville for not having that town at the front of my tongue immediately. And you end up with 52 settlements, villages, places of liberation and community and love, where you can keep your family together. You can raise your family with your neighbors' families, and not to worry about slave catchers, not to worry about being stolen away and sold to some horrible monster somewhere, being split up from your family. Every single one of those black communities, no matter how oppressed it was an oasis of liberty within the boundaries of that community, an oasis of love, and an oasis of faith. I was in Truro yesterday and I saw Zion United Baptist Church. I've seen it before, but when I saw it yesterday, suddenly it hit me. all of a sudden, the power of our ancestors in establishing those churches all around the mainland and also in industrial Cape Breton. It was a testament to their faith, but it was also a testament to the fact that they were anchored here, that they were tethered here, that they weren't going nowhere. This is home. And on that note, I need to invite Reed Jones. Come to the mic.
All right, what's good, y'all? I go by the name of Israel, and I'm representing Hammers Plains, Nova Scotia. And this year, it marks the 180th anniversary of our church. So big up to that. And yeah, let's do this. It's been over 180 years since we traveled here as free Chesapeake Black refugees to establish this community. It's been over 180 years since we fought for the British to escape plantation enslavement and be free. It's been over 180 years since proclamations of emancipation, stolen land to call our own, freedom in a stolen nation that we can call our home. It's been over 180 years since they left us here for dead, but we were so happy to be free, we didn't even realize we were supposed to die. Feeling blessed, we just settled here instead. Thinking we were heathens, they underestimated our faith in Jesus, and so we kept going throughout the seasons because we knew that we were here for a reason. It's been over 180 years of field work trying to break the earth, plant seeds to healthy crops in the rockiest terrain, and we did it. We sustained life in Hammond's Plains. It's been over 180 years since the clergyman, Reverend Burton, came here and established the first church here and named it Hammond's Plains Second Baptist. And when Reverend Richard Preston came and erected Hammond's Plains Baptist with a few members from the pews, only 2 years later, the two emerged to create the Emmanuel Baptist Church in the center of the community for the whole community to come in unity, read scriptures from memorized pages, sing spirituals and praises, pray for miracles and God's graces, building the faith it takes and has taken to make it through the ages. And we're still here, standing strong after 18 long decades. It's been over 180 years since we traveled here as free Chesapeake Black refugees to establish this community, and from Reverend Burton to Pastor Anderson, with praise and prayer, faith and resilience, we are still here. Amen. Oddly enough, I feel like I'm real old because I wrote that 20 years ago for the 160th anniversary. All right, let's go. We keep it rolling real quick. Up next, I'm not doing no introduction. Let's just do this. This poem is for the unsung heroes. Black and brown soldiers forgotten line by line where poppies are sold, and row by row in Flanders fields where poppies grow as if their blood doesn't equally soak its petals. This poem is for the unsung heroes of the number 2 Construction Battalion, those brave young men who crossed states and provinces to enlist in an army whose first rule of recruitment was that all men must be white, to die for a country that still doesn't believe that we exist. This is for the unsung heroes, those Black Scotians, our brothers who traveled to Pictou and Truro to serve in segregated non-combative units. This is for the unsung heroes that were denied their right to fight for a country that denies them their rights generationally. This poem is for the unsung heroes refused passage on boats carrying white soldiers off to war. The 600 Black volunteers who survived sub-infested waters only to arrive alive on shore to find out once more that they would be a source of free labor. This is for the unsung heroes that couldn't serve on the front line but could serve the front line by repairing roads, carrying supplies, and cutting trees for railway ties. They diffused landmines and dug trenches. They carried the wounded and strung stretches of barbed wire fences. They risked their lives behind enemy lines, dodging enemy fire while inhaling mustard gas for a country that wouldn't even provide them with masks. They were left to die. They were denied medical attention. They were accused of faking sick. They were called lazy and unfit, and yet they still continued to break production records. This is for the unsung heroes, those court-martialed after the 1918 Liverpool riots whose stories were silenced. This is for the soldiers forgotten by king and queen and so-called countrymen. This is for the unsung heroes in all black regiments, for all the black veterans who have died and continue to die on battlefields unrecognized, unappreciated, with no benefits, no blue crosses or shields on their medallions. This is for the unsung heroes returning home from war to find out that they're still third world citizens wondering what they were fighting for. Fighting for their children's children, fighting for young men like me who use speech and poetry in the streets to continue the fight to be free. This is for the young men who will never know that kind of war, but the young men who will continue to remember and honor the valor of the unsung heroes. And I completely forgot I had to do this poem, so Elle had to send it to me, and cause I didn't have it on my phone for some reason, but this one is the one that they're gonna sing to, so I can't wait to hear this. I wrote this when I was in Jamaica on my property. It's up on a big hill, and it looks over a sugarcane plantation. So every time I'm coming to and from my property, I'm just driving through this massive plantation, just pure sugar cane as long as you could see, and I don't know, it just makes me feel a ways all the time. My business partner out there swears he sees Obatala protecting our property, so it's like a big spiritual place for me anyway. So yeah, this is called Promised Land, and yeah, just imagine me doing a really great Jamaican accent, which I'm not gonna do. Promised land a call all throughout the night, cutlass in hand, swinging under moonlight. Mountains standing tall, guardians of the free, a hymn of liberation echoes throughout the trees. Born of sugarcane, raised in the cane field, season after season, yield after yield, year after year, these hills whispered rebellion, row by row, sowing freedom into the soil of every soul. In these cane fields, freedom finds its voice, a choice beyond no choice. Chain hands clenched around hoe, pick, and lass, the masters have finally met their match. No more overseers lash, chains shattered, the links of severed past. The violence of liberation breaking fast, they will die for our freedom, freedom at last. Promised land a call, all throughout the night. Cutlass in hand, swinging under moonlight. Mountains standing tall, guardians of the free. A hymn of liberation echoes throughout the trees. Bloodied machetes in the hands of the oppressed. A symphony of chaos, the masters distressed. Watch him tremble in his flesh as fires roar, fields ablaze, we will be captives no more. Inflamed cane singing sweet melodies of liberty's dream, cries of freedom screamed at the hillside. The hill watches back in glee as captives them, claim them free. Promised land a call, all throughout the night. Cutlass in hand, swinging under moonlight. Mountains standing tall, guardians of the free, a hymn of liberation echoes throughout the trees. Fields of green stained with blood, cane field bun, for the hills Uno run, blessed Zion, give us our freedom. Thank you.
Another Another audience participation. What? Yes. So, so for this one, we need you, especially at the end, but throughout, really, it'll be great. And the rhythm for it is like that. Yeah, it's like boom, bum, 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 bum. You can stomp too. Boom, bum, 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 bum. Just keep doing that. Bum, bum, bum,
Around the sandy road, all throughout the night, cutlass in the hand, swinging on the moonlight, mountains standing tall, guardians of the free, a hymn of liberation echo through the tree. Around the slanted call, all throughout the night, cutlass in the hand, swinging on the moonlight, mountains standing tall, guardians of the free, a hymn of liberation echo through the tree.
Born of sugar cane, raised in the field, season after season, year after year. Year after year, these hills whisper rebellion, roll by roll, where sufferation grows and goes untold, sowing freedom into the soil of every soul, building spirits too bold, limitations to hold.
From the slanted call, all throughout the night, cutlass in the hand, swinging on the moonlight, mountains standing tall, radiant of the free, a hymn of liberation echo through the tree.
In these cane-filled freedom finds its voice. A choice beyond no choice is a choice beyond no choice. Change hands, clench around, oh, picking us. The masses have met the march. No more overseas lash. Shattered family links us ever past. The violence of liberation breaking fast. They will die for our freedom, freedom at last.
Promised land and call, all throughout the night, cutlass in the hand, swinging on the moonlight, mountains standing tall, guardians of the free, a hymn of liberation echo through the trees.
Bloody machetes in the hands of the oppressed, a symphony of chaos, the masters distressed. Watch and tremble in his flesh as fires roar. Fields ablaze, we will be captives no more. Our voices in chambers rain, the pain singing sweet melodies of liberty's dream. 'Cause the freedom reign on, the leaves are like a tree. But here's what you need, it's because they break me free.
Promised land and call, all throughout the night, cutlass in the hand, swinging on the moonlight, mountains standing tall, guardians of the free, a hymn of liberation echo through the trees. Feel the breeze, stay with me, keep me above the run. Listen, Zion, give us freedom, give us freedom.
Whoa! Again. We want to once again celebrate Reed Israel Jones for that poem. And Dean Bowman bringing thunder. And Shanice Skinner bringing the Aeolian breeze. And the maestro, D.D. Jackson. It is now my miraculous privilege to
invite a personage to approach the podium and share her poetry with us. And I am, of course, referring to Her Honor, Mayanne Francis. Her Honor, Dr. Mayanne Francis, Order of Nova Scotia, who served as Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, the first black woman Lieutenant Governor in Canada from 2006 to 2012, and was recently named Honorary Canon for the Maritimes. Canon spelled C-A-N-O-N. Of course, Dr. Francis represents the epitomizes, I should say, public service, and registers just in her very bearing as a most esteemed role model of dignity and triumph over adversity, someone who also exemplifies grace and may actually be represented in every dictionary under that word with her image. So without any further ado, I want to welcome to this podium Her Honor, Dr. Mayanne Francis, ONS, Honorary Canon.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And I want to say that even last night with the poetry and choral, and it was just so moving, and it's still so moving. I want to thank everybody here who's doing poetry, and the singing deeply moves me. And as you know, I am from Cape Breton, from Whitney Pier. Born and raised there, and I always say that. So thank you for standing up and getting excited about it. I really appreciate that. My poems, I always think that they're just really small comparing to all the others. I'm so proud of them, that the poems that they give. I'm somebody who, in my successful life, I always credit my God and Jesus Christ for my success. And so many of my poems are deeply about that. And I will share some of them with you right now. The first poem, the name of it is My Noah. Love, love, love. My dear, you are a show, you are in my heart. My Noah, my Noah, my Noah, you are so beautiful. You are so playful. His snowy face, his heavenly blue eyes, I love my Noah. He is my cat. He is curious. He jumped into my shower when I was taking a shower. Wow, he is a male. He shocked me. How dear, my dear. He shocked me. Wow. My Noah, he likes to jump. I walk and I sleep. He jumps me. Birds fly, and so does Noah. He flies over furniture. He flies through the air, chasing flies, knocks a door off its hinges. He runs and hides. Noah, 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 where are you? Meow. 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 A cry of sorrow, a cry to forgive. I love you, Noah. I forgive you. My second poem is Faith in God. Hey, education is top of the line. Why not continuous learning? Oh yeah, books, humans, stories, talks. Love yourself and love your community. But don't forget to love all of God's creations. Cats, dogs, humans. What does that mean? Communicate. Communicate. Truth sets one free. Faith in God. God, my advisor, internal and external. Human advisors, female and male. Help for climbing over the fence and up the ladder. Compassion, honesty, and caring makes one feel good. Strong spirit cannot be broken. God's love, God's call. Forgiveness, of course. Anger, depression, overcome. Ride the course of faith for strength. Standing on top of the mountain, remember humility is down below. Selfless, yes. Selfish, no. Leading the cause for goodness, why not? Inclusivity, determination, why not? Ancestors, thank you. Next generation for you, Black leaders, Black women, Black men, Black youth. God's call is God's purpose. The next poem, called Beliefs. Religious beliefs, my beliefs, informed who I am because I am proud. I love God. He led me in all my journeys. Mommy and Daddy taught my Christian beliefs that I respect and love my daily flow, cause my foundation is my Christian beliefs. My love and commitment to God helped me fight racism and discrimination. God answers my prayers because I am his call. God gave me strength and courage to walk and talk the way in life. I do not hide. I am a strong Christian. I practice my beliefs. I thank God for my great life and my successful career. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Amen, amen, amen. The next poem is the poem for song. And I'm hoping that my tears will not come down to mess up my makeup. So, that's always my challenge. But in any event, it's a very moving song. I had called the poem my dream, but then when it became a song, it's Your Time Has Not Yet Come. God called me home. The place was peaceful and beautiful. I heard voices. I recognized a voice, my daddy, Reverend George Francis. He was talking to Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth. Daddy, life is difficult. You did not prepare me for people against my black skin. My darling mom and I made you realize that you are important and told you to educate who you are. You are successful. You know how to stay strong. You understood the impact slavery had on the world. Institutionalization, racism, systemic discrimination. God helped you because you are God's call. Goodbye, my baby. No, Daddy, I want to stay with you. Daddy, keep me, keep me. Daughter, your time has not yet come. God is not ready for you to come to heaven. He is keeping you on earth, and he will stay with you. You will continue to do his request. I love you, my daughter. Goodbye, and stay strong. I opened my eyes. I smiled and said, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you, Daddy.
God called me home. The place was peaceful and beautiful. I heard voices, I recognized a voice. My dad, Reverend George Francis. He was talking about Luther King, Harriet Tubman, and Sojourner Truth. Daddy, life is difficult. You did not prepare me to anticipate the guilt fools cast on false ebony.
Man, you were raised to realize you're God's witness. You must hold fools to their wives. You know how to stay strong. You know that God is righteous and that racism is a class weapon. God help you, my girl. You are God's call. Yes, you are God's call. Goodbye, my baby.
No, Daddy, I want to stay with you. Daddy, I want to stay. Time is not yet come. My time is not yet come. God is not ready for me to come to heaven.
He's keeping you on earth, yes, on earth. Stand with you. Your mission is your word, it's your word. You do his request.
brings my father to me. My mom. Thank you so much. God bless you.
It's almost at the end. And it's a terrible thing to be arriving at this terminus of the program. There's still one more song. There's still a couple more poems. And as I select what I'm going to read to close off today's program, I want to once again thank the Halifax Public Library for having us here, for treating us so well, for you, for your participation and support, inspiration, and even admiration. Thank you so very, very much. So I'm always bad at this. I've got to like get stuff together here, and I am going to, and here it is. And I know I shouldn't be saying anything political. I know it's a bad thing to do, but at the same time, you got to do it all the time, and it's actually part of the music. It's part of the history of the music. It's part of the song. I'm thinking all of a sudden of Marvin Gaye and What's Going On, that great album, and the necessary politics of that album. I think about Gil Scott-Heron, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. I think of The Last Poets and their gift of song. I think of James Brown, The Big Payback. You can't avoid it sometimes. So the first poem I'm going to read of the three, and I'll end with the song poem. It's a poem in Spanish, but I don't want you to worry because I don't know any Spanish. But it's a poem that is Spanish originally, and it's from the Spanish of Mexican nun by the name of Sor Juana de la Cruz, Sister Joan of the Cross, if you like, Sor Juana de la Cruz. And the title in Spanish, which I cannot pronounce, is number 322, Matins de Santa Catarina de Alejandría, Oaxaca, 1691. She was a 17th century nun and a great poet. So the way I try to translate her poetry is I just look at the words and I try to think what they might mean, and I just go with that. Whatever happens, happens. That's how I got my doctorate. I just want to let Sister Vina know. All you got to do is just make it up. Just make it up. So here it is. Here it is. Based on Sor Juana de la Cruz. May I hope, Prime Minister, you know what to say and won't fall mute or hushed before warmonger or the tyrant's sway or prostitute. Do but in, Prime Minister, interrupt the liars. Don't hesitate. Quiet the hot-head dictator whose speeches start fires blazing with hate. Have your say, Prime Minister. It's wrong to play dumb when truth must shout. The opposition leader prays that you'll stay mum to tout your route. So pipe up, Prime Minister. Show your hearts and smarts and don't relent. Target our foes sinister. Pinpoint them with darts, spears, a torrent. By the way, that was written in August. It was written in June in Tropea, Italy. I had no idea what was coming. But I thought that Justin could do with a little bit of pep and vim and vigor and so on. The next poem, very simple, and it's actually for the Honorable Mayanne Francis. It's called The Call to Home. And it's a poem I wrote for one of her songs. My utopia, a round stone tower cobbled from marble and shale, such lone, ocean-colored scenery amid greenery, the super verdant 3 Mile plains.
A dreamy, supreme jungle, green as sumptuously green as an avocado, where red-breast robins and black-capped chickadees stage a torrid clamor, strident canticles, their songs raging impromptu, glamorous arias, phantasmagorical cadences, ears in my ears. While perfume buffets my face, the blossoming of apples, the tang of pine, an unmistakable honey of unparalleled sweetness, heralding persistent succulence. And indoors table are peers from Nova Scotia, pure wine from Nova Scotia. Morocco adjacent is Nova Scotia. Sanctified bottles, an ambience of cinnamon and lemons, the oniric music of Portia White, trilling an enterprise of light, profiting every window. Here and now I awake, still adrift in dream, relishing a lingo of vino and aurora, seditious gold dawn, clairvoyance, mandatory sunflowers preening in the garden. Mandatory sunflowers preening in the garden. And when I leaf my pages, the verses embody a pantheon, and I'm a colossus of wine as arrogant as champagne or Dylan Thomas Wilde. Malcolm X disciplined, a gardener corralling a jungle. A gardener corralling a jungle. And the last one, the poem turns to song. It's another spiritual turn to song by the maestro, right here. Bedraggled straggler, bedraggled straggler, how you gonna get to heaven? How you gonna get to Canaan? Gotta trick the devil with your smile. Gotta deke them hellhounds off your trail. Gotta squirm like a worm through the field. Gotta take God as your sword and shield. Gone drink down dew and chew up roots. Gone join Jesus in ecclesiastical cahoots. How else is you gonna get saved? How else is you gonna laugh at the grave? Ain't the Milky Way your starry river? Cross the Jordan, although you'll shiver. Take the North Star as your compass. The darkness is what each dawn outlasts. The darkness is what each dawn outlasts. Bedraggled straggler, bedraggled straggler. No more be a lagger. Salvation don't wait on the lagger. Crawl and creep, then leap up haggard. But free and stride where once you staggered. But free and stride where once you staggered. Stride, oh stride, where once you staggered. Bedraggled straggler, bedraggled straggler.
Before we play the last piece, I just wanted to self-indulgently again thank everybody here for coming. I wanted to thank Halifax Public Libraries, Elliot and Cheryl and Crystal, everybody who helped with this. Such a pleasure to write for them. Shanice was telling me that she normally writes music, or she sings music written by dead people. So it was nice to have something written for her, and I have to say the feeling is mutual, that it was lovely to be able to write something with her in mind. And with Dean, every one of the tunes that you've heard, if you ever hear my demo versions, I'm just trying to pretend to be him, essentially. So I'm amazed and so thrilled that we were able to bring both of them in all the way from Romania and from The Hague. It was crazy. And myself from New York, in the New York area. And finally, thank you, George, as always. We've known each other for 20-something, many years, and it's like an old big brother. Not old, he's like we've known him for a long amount of time, but it's not old. He's like a big brother. And amazing, just wonderful accomplishment of him commissioning so many different poems and really giving Canadian poets this voice in Canada and even beyond. So I really appreciate all the work that you've done, George. Thank you so much. I will shut up now. We're going to play this song.
Straggle, straggle, we straggle, straggle,
As another chapter of 5 poets breaking into song comes to a close, its impact lingers, an enduring testament to the power of words, music, and culture.